This is John Cola with GrowingYourGreens.com. I have another exciting episode for you today. We're here in Las Vegas, Nevada, actually at a viewer's house that I have visited before. He's pretty much an expert grower. He's been doing it a long time. He's been trialing different things, growing inside, growing outside. But more importantly than all that stuff is he's making his own compost. So what we're gonna do today is show you guys like the compost he makes himself here on site and some of the stuff he bought. And the purpose of this episode is to encourage you guys to make your own compost. It's as simple as throwing your food scraps in a little compost bin. So let's go inside and check it out. Now we're in Jason's backyard and we're looking at his turning compost bin. Now he says he doesn't recommend this style because the way this works, it's actually sitting on top of these wheels, and when the bin gets really full, it's really hard to spin around. That being said, he just dumps stuff in here, and guess what? Compost happens. And if you don't remember anything else, remember compost happens no matter what you put in there. Whether you have the right mixture of greens to browns, that's your carbon to nitrogen ratio, it'll happen. Sometimes it happens slower, sometimes it happens faster, and of course if you get it dialed in, you could be turning your compost and making compost really quickly. Let's go ahead and open this guy up and check it out. This compost looks amazing. Wow, I could feel the heat coming off this stuff. But if we go in here, like, this is nice, dark, rich compost. This is what you should aspire to be growing in, stuff that looks just like that. Now, one of the things was that, he can't produce as much compost as he needs. And, if I needed to produce as much compost as I need, I'd need, like, a big area to dedicate to that. So he doesn't want to do that, but he does make some compost. So he did have to buy some compost to fill in his raised beds, and that's in this bucket right here. And check this out. We're going to compare these two side by side. I mean, I could dig in this compost here, and I mean, there's a lot of pine needles and wood chips, and it's not just quite broken down. And I know the camera could pick up the color difference. Look at that. This stuff is nice, dark, and rich, deep color, and this stuff is just like all loose and not sticking together. I mean, this is almost like compost sand. And you definitely want to grow in compost that has some nice structure, like the stuff he made. I'm lucky enough to oftentimes to have a good compost company nearby where I could get something like Sonoma Compost that make a high quality compost. But you want to remember, the compost quality could vary widely depending on where you live. And for a lot of companies, they're just blasting out compost and trying to make a buck, and they're not necessarily making the best stuff. But when you make it at home, you can make the best compost ever. Another way Jason is composting besides his turning bin is actually with worms. And worm composting in many cases is actually a lot easier because literally the worms do all the work. All you got to do is remember to feed them and keep them the right level of moisture in there. They don't like it too moist, but they don't like it too dry either. Right here, Jason is using the Worm Factory 360. And this was his first worm bin he got. And we could open this up and see in here he's actually got some nice compost happening. And here are some worms in there, and they're moving around and he's feeding them. But this he had some good success with. So the Worm Factory worked really well for him, but Jason is kind of like myself. He'll research things and try to find the best device or the best tool for the job. And instead of using the Worm Factory, he went with what's called a worm in. And actually he's telling me that it's actually works twice as fast as a Worm Factory 360. So let's check that one out next. Now we're looking at the worm in, and this is Jason's improved composter. And once again, he said this works about twice as fast. And let me go ahead and explain how this works. Basically, you buy it, and you buy the PVC. It comes with the actually this big bag itself and the corner pieces so that you can make your own frame to hold it up. Basically, this is like a big bag. And on the bottom, it has a drawstrings that opens up the bottom, and then it lets all the finished worm castings or worm compost come out. And in most cases, I actually like worm castings more than just standard compost because the worms, when the worms poop it, they put some enzymes and other things, and it's really rich and good for your garden. How this works is you basically just fill it up, you put some bedding material in there to get them started, and you get the food scraps, put them in there, and then you put the worms in, and what happens is the worms will eat all the food, and then you add more food, and then the worms migrate up. They always like to go up. What happens is as they move up, they're leaving their castings on the bottom. You're then going to open this up, and the castings will fall out, and then the worms are up at the top, so you're not going to get too many worms when you harvest the castings. This is called the continuous flow or flow-through system because the stuff literally just flows through. And I like this design a lot better, and I think I'm actually going to have to pick one of these up, and I want to thank Jason for being a guinea pig to let me know that this actually works. On the top here is made out of a mesh fabric, and this mesh is supposed to keep the bugs out, and also you could pour water through there. Keeping worms is really easy. Worms eat their weight in food a day. So say you have 1 pound of worms, they could eat 1 pound of vegetable matter. And especially if you're a juicer, juice pulp is probably one of worms' favorite things to eat because it's already pre-broken down. What better thing to do with your juice pulp than to make worm castings and enrich your garden. I'm quite happy that I was able to share with you the ways that Jason is composting. Once again, I want to encourage everybody out there to make your own compost, whether you just have a pile, whether you just pile up stuff, whether you dig a big hole and put it in there. There's many different ways to compost. You could get a bin or make your own bin out of pallets. You could get, a worm factory. You could get a worm in, or even just a Rubbermaid tote, and you could line that and have it underneath your sink with the worms in there to eat your food scraps, and you could make your own compost at home. That's definitely by far the best growing medium to grow in. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Once again, my name is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. We'll see you next time, and keep on composting.